We have the world of Ghoti with some mode changing capabilities. We have Synchro, good stuff, and we also have Charmers too. Make sure you guys smash the crap out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out more. I think this is one of the coolest lists that I've seen for Ghoti, because they're taking advantage of the mode changing assault mode activate to actually create like a decently cool end board. And this list is able to bridge through a lot of the synchro stuff. I'd never considered using the Ghoti stuff as an option to be able to take advantage of a synchro package to create an end board, but my gosh, this is a concept and an idea if I have ever actually seen one. Obviously, you know, this build flushes out to 60 cards, which might be a little bit more than the average duelist wants to dedicate towards. I can understand that, but in terms of raw theory, in terms of ideas that you can mess around with, I thought that this was by far one of the coolest ones that you could see. So who knows, maybe you've got a cool idea like this and you've been working on this. This might help you refine this just a little bit more. Next up, we have Synchro good stuff, and I gotta tell you, Synchro Emergency as a 3 of in this deck just blew open the doors to the ideas and concepts that you can have with the Synchro deck now. Now, before this, going second was just an absolute terrible time. You know, you really didn't want to have to deal with what you had to deal with, but this deck now is able to basically build an entire board at the first glance of the game and actually put the opponent into, dare I say, an incredibly terrible game position. And that's actually just what this deck wants to do. It wants to be able to, you know, feel like it's setting up a decent board, and I think this deck does a pretty decent job at doing so. So I would give this a shot. I would, you know, give it some recommendations. Obviously, you know, ratios are probably not going to be the most defined at this point when you're messing around with these lists in the very early stages, but that's okay. That's what time for refinement is for. Next up, we have, well, first of all, I'm really happy to see that, like, we're messing around with, like, the level 5 Charmers in here so that we can take advantage of the canine stuff so we can actually build a board. That was not originally on my bingo sheet of things to be able to do with this deck, but, you know, it turns into something you can do. Also, really using the spellbook package in here to make sure that you can get into all of these Spellcaster monsters. See, we're also playing, you know, the Gaze of Timaeus to convert into the Dark Magician of Destruction. You know, one blue boy on a normal summon just opens up a lot of cool doors for what you're actually able to work with in terms of variations for this. So if there was an idea that you wanted to mess around with Canine, this might actually be a decent beginning. I've seen, there have been some Spellcaster piles popping up here and there. You know, the new Charmer cards were a great start to try to do things, but competitively, they've missed a little bit of the mark. Next up, we have Orcust. Now, in terms of Modern Era Orcust, most of these builds have been going with the concept of the shining sarcophagus stuff because the Dark Magician Girl actually is just a discard outlet. You know, you're able to fuel into all of these extra bits and pieces to be able to build a board. It's also crazy enough to me here, I see the OCG has access to Curious, which when you have access to Curious to kind of push through these boards, well, you know, you're able to do some more fantastic things than you should. Also see we're playing the new Decode Talker down here, and obviously, you know, because your payoff with the Dark Magician Girl is you're able to make a Dragoon, which also is able to fuel as a discard outlet machine for you to kind of set up those boards and be able to do your thing. Also, see the Master of Chaos is popping up in here. Definitely really cool just to see the different variations that players are bringing to the table here to work. We also got Rockets. Now, Rockets have not been the greatest deck to be explored. This pile's a little bit more of the casual duelist dream, right? Like you have the Borreload Riot Dragon in here with the Ritual so you can play the game. You got the Mirror Force Launcher and the Mirror Force itself. If there was a variant of a, I would say, character deck that you might want to play, this deck kind of feels like one of those dreams that might actually be viable to have a little bit more fun with. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, you know, Rockets as a competitive deck, obviously, you know, I kind of think you want more of like the extenders and things like the mini Chaos Dragons. are kind of able to give to you. You know, if you're not taking advantage of what those cards are doing for the deck, it just kind of feels like it's kind of crumbling apart. You know, like you have to have an end board plan for this deck, or it's really disappointing at the end of the day. Next up, we have the other Spellcaster pile. So this is where we've been seeing the fairy tale stuff coming in and actually working, but you've also got things like the Magister's package, which is working overtime, and we've got Endymion's Son, who's also looking to kind of help together. It's really just a shame because one of the greatest cards that this deck has access to is the Borreload Savage Dragon. Like, Savage Dragon's job is to put up an incredibly strong end board so you can do your thing. Because, I mean, this deck naturally has access to the Artemis, but in terms of seeing this variant actually coming to the TCG side and being a consistent monster in our game, it's not going to work. Borreload Savage Dragon is just too important of an end board piece to actually have do its thing. But I mean, maybe as a deck that you can spam the Secret Village lock on, maybe there is something to that part. Next up, we have, what is this? So first of all, we have Psyframes in here to act as hand traps. We have the Hop Ear Squadron. We have the Fiendsmith stuff in here. We've also got Bestials, and we have the Fire Impulse Rescue Ace stuff. This is how many engines can you slap together to make work out? Now, obviously, you do see the Mini Underworld Goddess in here. You are going to have to cut that out to mess around with some other variants and things like that. But as a conceptual idea, this is hilarious. And if the Mini Underworld actually ever does come back, you know, it just, we talk about like the Fiendsmith deck as a joke, but like, really, if you're just turboing down multiple engines to be able to get two monsters on the field like this, you are going to see some, you know, success at that front. So, interesting concept for sure. Next up here, we actually have just regular Ghoti. You know, we've had a lot of people, one of my friends has been trying this out. He's wants to really play Ghoti in Genesis format. So he's been trying to cook up whatever cool ideas that he can have. I think First Penguin is a great card for this deck. I'm glad to see that this deck is not using the Greater Dragon because that card is expensive, man. You just don't want to spend the resources on that card because it is way too much for what it actually generates. But I got to give him some credit here. In terms of, you know, how the Ghoti deck is supposed to perform, 1 gold sarcophagus just turns this whole deck on. I do see, you know, we are playing the field spell for penguins, which is kind of funny. I guess there is some merit to actually having that. And of course, you know, you have a deck that obviously wants to play impulses to be able to take advantage of that. You know, obviously impulses is restricted to 2 in the OCG, so you are going to have to make some concessions on that. Next up here, we have Dark Magician. And, you know, 1/1/1 on the Dark Magicians looks weird to me, but gosh darn it, the fact that you can even do that is hilarious. It's crazy. You do see we are doing the Shining Sarcophagus stuff in this particular list. I don't think you get much of a choice in that. The Dark Magician Girl is just too much of a free buy. You also see no Gandora in here. As much as like I like Gandora and how he can actually kind of help you build up some decent boards, at certain points he just doesn't really feel like. You see we have the WP Fancy Ball in here. We've also got the Charmer Link 4. You got to remember Charmer Link 4 being, you know, good support in general for a deck like this is very, very strong. You know, also, you know, you get to play 5 Dominuses in this deck. So, I mean, as long as you can stun your opponent and then actually come through with the power of Dark Magician to do your thing off of the curtain, it feels good. Next up, you have, this is Secret Village Turbo, man. This is, you got triple Planet Pathfinder. You have triple of the banish some synchros from the extra deck to be able to go search for a field spell. That is the entire purpose of this deck. And when I saw this list, I thought that this was just some of the funniest stuff that you can pick up and just mess around with. I don't think that this is consistent by any stretch of the imagination, but gosh darn it, you're telling me here that we have a dream to just spam out Secret Village. We may as well, you know, look at it. So this was really funny. So what do you guys think about these variations and cool things in the meta? Please leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. I'll see your beautiful faces back here in a day, guys. patrons. Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.